you guys? Welcome back to Lily Reads. In today's video, we are going to be reading some general fiction. All of these books are relatively acclaimed. Like, people have said good things about all of these books. When it comes to all the vlogs I'm doing this month, this is the vlog where I expect to have the most 5 stars. But that might not be true because we did that vlog reading young adult contemporary and I liked almost every single book in that video. So this might give it a run, might not. We will see. So let's get into it. What are we going to be reading? The first book we are going to read in this video is Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett. Friday I'm in Love is a book by this author. We read this in the book club, so I thought it would be perfect to pick up another novel from this author. This is young adult, and I'm so excited to read it. I've already started a little bit, and it's already starting off really, really interesting. So that's going to be the first book we're going to read in this video. The next book we are going to read is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. This is one of those books where it's really popular in real life. In real life, a lot of people have read this book, loved this book. It was on Obama's list. It was the Barnes & Noble Book of the Year. This is a very popular book. It was at the top of the New York Times bestseller. It was the winner of the National Book Award. It has gotten so much praise, but nobody reads it online. Nobody reads this book on BookTube. Nobody reads this book on TikTok. I ain't seen on Instagram. Like, this is just one of those books that's like real life popular, but like online, it doesn't get a lot of discourse. Not in like the hip book spaces, but I'm going to read it because I usually like those books. I usually like the books that people on BookTube do not read. That's like general fiction, kind of like your mom and dad's like book. And so I am so excited to read because I don't know what this book is about. I do not know what this book is about. So that's the second book we are going to read in this video. Then we have Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks. This book was nominated for the Women's Prize. I am very excited to read this book. Do not know what it is about, but I'm excited to read it. Like I said, nominated for the Women's Prize, a lot of acclaim. And the last book we are going to read is Family Meal by Brian Washington. Heard good things about this book as well, and we're going to read it. So those are the 4 books we are going to read in this video, and we are going to start off reading Full Disclosure. Okay, I will see you guys later. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am currently about to eat lunch. I made roast last night, so I need to eat it. I hate warming stuff up. I'm not a leftovers girl, but I will eat a roast leftover. But anyway, I am coming to give initial thoughts on Full Disclosure. I have made it to page 60, and I don't want to have to come back and talk to you guys after I start reading this again until I'm finished, because we are on favorite book of the year alert. Yeah. There's just something you feel when you're reading a book that could be in your top 10 favorite books of the year. I felt that way reading Not So Pure and Simple, and I don't really remember what I read in January to see if any of those books were on favorite book of the year alert. I would have to think about it, but this is on favorite book of the year alert. In this book, we are following a main character named Simone. She is going to the gynecologist. She is 18 years old, and she's going to the gynecologist because she wants to find out if she can have sex because she is living with HIV. She is HIV positive. We as the reader don't know how she acquired HIV, but we know that she has HIV, and she's been having questions about sex because there's a boy at her school who she has a crush on, and she knows eventually things might lead to them having sex, and she just wants to know what are her options and all of that. So we are following Simone as she goes to this private school. She left her old school because the people at her old school found out she had HIV. She hasn't really told us the story, so we don't know how everything went with that. But nobody at her new school knows she is HIV positive. She has two best friends named Claudia and Lydia. Claudia and Lisa, something like that. They're really close with her. They talk about relationships. Claudia is asexual. Lisa has a girlfriend. How does this work? Something like they both got shit going on, and they talk about that. They want to know what's going on in Simone's life, but Simone doesn't want to let them know that she has HIV. Well, one day she is working on the musical. Miles is the boy she has a crush on. Miles is a black guy at the school. He plays lacrosse. And Miles does the techie stuff for the musical. He moves stuff out of the way. Like moves the stage, does the props, whatever. And one day Miles kisses her. So she finds out Miles likes her. And then her and Miles get to like be hanging out at school. You know how that goes for kids. But she gets a note one day. And the note says, "Stop hanging out with Miles or I'm going to tell everyone you have HIV." And that's pretty much the story. Of course, I'm further than that. But that's how the story is going to go. This story the stakes are so high for me. I want Simone and Miles to be happy. And so I want Simone to get everything she deserves. So whoever's trying to blackmail her is pissing me off. How is Miles going to react when he finds out that Simone is living with HIV? She has two queer dads. And her dads are really ignorant. And I love that juxtaposition, how her dads are both queer and her dads know what it's like to live in fear of people knowing who you really are, because one of her dads is not closeted, the other one is. And so they know what it's like to live in fear and judgment, but they still project that fear onto her. Like when she's talking to her gynecologist about having sex, the dad's like, well, you know, the best way not to spread the HIV is to just not have sex. And they're not really listening to their daughter's desires and what she wants in life. And so if everything goes wrong, which happens in books, everything has to go wrong for things to go right, I'm going to cry. Like, I literally think I might cry. If Miles ends up, like, not wanting to talk to Simone because she has HIV, I'm going to cry. If her friends end up not wanting to be her friends, I'm going to cry. I do have my suspicions on who wrote the note, but we'll have to see. Because there's not a lot of players on the board with that, but I have a sneaking suspicion. And if Simone gets bullied out of this school, if the ending of this book turns into Simone just having to accept, like, people aren't going to accept her because she's HIV positive, it's going to make me cry, you know? And it's just, I'm reading the book and I'm like, I went to school. I know, especially because she goes to a predominantly white school. It wouldn't matter if it was predominantly black. Like, these kids are going to be mean to her because they're kids. And so there's adults who don't understand how HIV works. And so you know these kids gonna act a fucking fool. And I'm just like, I just want her to be happy with Miles. Like, the scenes with Miles is so cute. And she didn't think Miles was gonna like her because Miles is like outgoing. He's on the lacrosse team. Everyone likes Miles. Miles is cute. So she didn't think Miles was going to like her. She actually thought Miles was gay because he was so nice to her. So for Miles to be the one, Miles is the one who like came on to her. I'm just like, y'all are so cute. So if all of this crumbles, I'm going to crumble. I'm going to crumble with it, okay? Their death is my death. I can't. I'm like so emotional. So like, I want to read more, but it's too much for me. Like, I had to read it in small dose. It's too much. Like, the cuteness overload of Miles and Simone. It's like young, cute, black love. Like, ooh, so cute. Her dads be pissing me off because they be trying to hold her back. And then Simone doesn't believe in herself, but you understand why. And then there's so much history and baggage. Like, why did she leave the old school? She doesn't have a mom. And it's just like, oh God. It's too much. So, but we are on favorite book. The fact that I'm so invested, this is what books are about. This is why we do the reading, because that is shaping up to be excellent. But my roast, it looks like roadkill, but it's my roast. Heating it up, and I'll come talk to you guys when I actually finish the book, and then I'll show you guys the books that I'm gonna unhaul and donate. Okay? Peace. Hello, you guys. I have finished full disclosure, and we have our first 5-star book of the video. This book was sweet. This book was tender. I learned so much stuff in this book. This book was so well researched. There were things about HIV and AIDS that I didn't know, things about sex and people who live with HIV, how they have sex that I did not know. And you guys know I love young adult books that like pick a specific topic that young adults do deal with and maybe doesn't get a lot of attention, and it really is a voice for that demographic of people. And there are young people who have HIV and are living with HIV, whether they got it how the character in this book got it or they got it any other way. And it's just good to see that books like this exist. This is just such a thoughtful book, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed every single thing about this book. I had fun reading it. When you read a 5-star book, you realize that other books aren't 5-star books. Like, I kind of want to go back and change my rating for some books because this was a 5-star book. Like, it almost ended too soon. The author's notes in this book are really good, by the way. They have a lot of information about HIV and AIDS, but they're numbered, and so like there's 15 pages in here that are author's notes, and I didn't know, so I thought I still had 15 more pages of plot, and I didn't, and I was really like disappointed. So that's how I know it's a 5-star. But yeah, I enjoyed this book. 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book we are going to read is The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. And yeah, hopefully we can keep this train going. I'm gonna be honest, this probably will be the best book of the video. Already one of my favorite books of the year, definitely. But yeah, I'm going to head to bed. I didn't even eat dinner tonight. I had to wake up early this morning to let some people into my house. I'm doing a lot of different stuff to my house. I've like accepted the fact that I'm going to live in this house for a while, just with like the prices of homes, interest rates, and all of that stuff. I'm just going to be here a while, and I don't want to move. Like, the simple thought of just moving this big ass king bed, that alone makes me want to like unalive myself. So then I'm thinking about like moving my desk, moving my books. Could you imagine? That's like a whole process. So like I don't want to move until like the perfect home comes along for me to move into for my second house. So I am starting the process of doing like even more stuff. Like I need to get a rug down here. It doesn't matter. I woke up early and I need to get some sleep. I am not the wake up early girl. Like I always tell you guys this and you can judge. I do not like waking up before 10 o'clock. I know. There are times where like I'll naturally wake up early and it pisses me off because like I personally don't need that much time in the day. Because here's the thing, just because I wake up early, like you guys, it's 11:33. It's not early. So even though I woke up early as hell this morning, I still go to bed late. So I end up getting so many hours in the day, like too many hours in the day. And so it's just like, can the day end? Can the day end? And I hate feeling that way. And I end up taking a nap. I don't like taking naps. I don't like how I feel after I take naps. And so I say that to say there's no reason for me to wake up early. And so I don't. But every now and then I have to. And I regret it. And so like I'm just ready to go to sleep. I'm ready to go to sleep. And yeah, that was some good reading though. I'm happy I read before bed. But I'll talk to you guys later. Peace. Okay, so hello you guys. Let's discuss the Heaven and Earth grocery store. So I have made it a good chunk of the way through this book, and I can already tell why this book is loved by critics and maybe not talked about from like regular readers. But let's get into my thoughts. So this book starts off in 1972. We're in Pennsylvania. The police is knocking on this guy's door. We don't know who this guy is, but the police is knocking on this guy's door and saying, hey, we found 2 dead bodies next to you because they're building a housing development. And as they were digging up the housing development, they find 2 skeletons. So they think this guy might have done it. So they're questioning him and he's not even fazed by it. He's just like, y'all not gonna find nothing happened or whatever. So the police are like, we're gonna come back and question you tomorrow. But the guy goes off and leaves, and a hurricane comes along and it takes the dead bodies away. Any evidence that could be found about these skeletons is basically washed away with this hurricane. And this kind of sends us back in time. We are back in time. Do they tell us exactly what the name of this place is? Yes, it's called Chicken Hill. We are on Chicken Hill, and we are in this community where there are a lot of Jewish people, we have some Polish people, and there are Black people. And they're all kind of living amongst each other. There is racial tension. A lot of the Jewish people who have been able to make a life for themselves in America, some of the Polish people have moved away from the Black people because they're just like, we don't gotta be around Black people no more. It's assimilation. You're assimilating and you're like, racism is the way to do it, right? So they're moving away. But we have this couple. Their name is Moshe and Chana. Moshe is the guy, Chana is the woman. They run the Heaven and Earth grocery store. Shauna, she is like she's the woman and she's the one who really, really runs it. Then you have Masha. Masha also has a theater that he runs, and he's like not really in on the business. He actually kind of wants to move with the rest of the Jewish people, but Shauna's just like, no, we're not going to do that, because Shauna has become really close with the Black people in this community. Shauna got really, really sick, and the Black people kind of came and like nursed her back to health. They came and checked in on her. She lets them buy stuff. Like, they don't have to pay for anything. She just has a really good rapport with them. They've always helped her. We'll learn later on in the book, like, what her relationship is to the Black people in this community. But just for the synopsis, that's what is going on. So anyways, we also have this Black guy. This Black guy, his name is Nate. Nate lives with his wife and this deaf boy. This boy can speak and he can see. This matters because of what happened to him, but he can see and he can hear, but he can't, no, he can see and he can speak, but he cannot hear. He reads lips. And because Nate and his wife haven't been able to have a child, they've kind of taken in this deaf boy. But one day, these white men come and they want to institutionalize this boy because he's 10 years old. He doesn't go to school, and people have heard like maybe he's like not, they don't know what's up with him. So they're like, we're coming to institutionalize him. His mother is not alive anymore. So they're just like, let's take this boy. And so Nate doesn't want it to happen. So he goes to the theater, because I told you that Masha owns a theater. He goes to the theater and he's just like, can this boy work to earn his keep and you guys hide him out? So Masha's just like, sure, yes, because like he's kind of like, the black people are cool, but like also he's not gonna really stick his neck out for the black people. Like he's just kind of like, you know what, we're cool, y'all work for me, sure. But the wife, Sean, is just like, you are not about to let this little boy sleep in a cold, ratty basement in a theater. So they full on take the boy in. They take the boy in and they have the boy living with them because they don't want the boy to like not have any place to live. And so far, this book is just about this community where they're all kind of like taking in this boy and taking care of this black boy. And like we're back in time. That's pretty much what's happened. There's someone, is his name Malachi, who has returned to town. He's an interesting character, but right now he's kind of on the outskirts of everything that's going on. But yeah, it's about these Jewish, Polish, black people in this community all trying to house this boy. I don't know where else this is gonna go. Like I said, this book is loved by people, and you can tell why it would get loved by critics. But is it all that intriguing? No. It's one of those stories where, like, you read it, it's written beautifully, and it's cinematic. Like, the writing is cinematic. It goes from thing to thing to thing. It all blurs together. It's like you're watching a movie. The characters are good. It's just a well-written story. But, like, am I in it? Like, am I just like, what's going to happen next? No. Now, I am intrigued when we do get to learn things about each character. You guys know I just love deep, juicy characters. So when we get to learn things about each character and it kind of explains why they're acting a certain way, I do enjoy that. It kind of gives the actions that they have some like backstory, some reason. I do like that. And I am curious about the dead bodies. Who are these dead bodies? And like how this all is going to go. Like, it's intriguing, but like I do not think this is a book most people who are online are going to like. I put this in the realm of Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen, Don't Cry for Me, maybe even Demon Copperhead. Also, like, they're just not booktube TikTok books, you know? They're more just like people who just like read to read. This is more that. This book is for people who just want to read like 3 good books a year. Like, that's it. They want to read 3 good books and call it a day. That's what this book is more so for. But I'm enjoying myself well enough, and I will come with more thoughts if I have more thoughts, okay? Hello, you guys. Usually, I do not come and give you guys, like, middle of the book updates because it's just not really necessary. But I do want to come and give middle of the book updates on The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride because my feelings on this book has changed. I am really, really enjoying this book. Something I've noticed in literary fiction is you start in medias res, which is not something new. Like, you start in the middle of the plot. But what I've noticed in literary fiction right now is there's this trend of starting in the middle of the plot, going around like getting all the details around. So there's a nucleus, going back and getting all the outer rings and everything around this nucleus just to pull you right back into the middle of the plot. I don't know if I'm explaining that. Like, you start in the middle of the plot, but you're not aware where you're in the middle of the plot until you're getting stuff about everything around all the different characters in the book, and you realize where you started in the book. No, you were deep in the plot. The beginning of the book is the literal whole plot. Like, that don't make no damn sense now that I'm thinking about it, but like, do you get what I'm saying? Crossroads by Jonathan Franzen does the exact same thing, where you're literally out, you start in the middle, right? But you're not aware you're in the middle. Even though you know you're going back in time, basically, you get a plot, you get introduced to these characters, and then you get backstories on all of these characters, and it shows you that where you were at the beginning of the book is literally the thick of the plot. Like, so much has happened before that moment. That's what it is. You realize so much has happened with these characters before this moment. You think the story you're reading is the full plot, but no, there's an even bigger plot that was never in this story, and you're going back getting little details of this bigger plot. So what I really think I'm trying to say is, the book starts off on a zoom lens, like you're zoomed in to these people, and slowly, the book creeps you back. You go back and back and back, and you're getting the entire world. But there's a moment in the book where you get all the information and you go right back in, you zoom right back in, and you're focused on a very particular thing, and that explains why you're being told this specific story at this specific time. Because this author could have told you so many different stories about these characters, but at the end, probably at the 75% mark, it goes back and tells you why you're learning this specific story. It zooms you back in. That makes no sense unless you've been reading literary fiction recently, because that's something like so many literary fiction books have been doing. I would even say The Bandit Queens does that. Trespasses does the exact same thing. Like, it's a common literary trope where, like, you just start somewhere, you don't know why you're starting there, then you get all this information, and you're like, oh, there's been a whole world outside of these people. You're just not starting at the beginning of people's stories. I'm making that more complicated than it has to be, but I say that to say that's what's happening in the Heaven and Earth grocery store, and it's so good. It is so good, because at the root of this is something very simple. All these people are connected by this deaf black boy, but you're getting to know the relationship between all of these people, and it's so real, and it's written so cinematically. Like, oftentimes when people are writing about Jewish people, black people, and white people in a certain time, they try to like make it too big. Everyone's too racist. Everyone's too anti-Semitic. Like, everything is over the top and large. But this author is just showing the mundane. He's showing the mundane, the way people talk about one another, the way people interact, and you're getting that same exact feeling that you would get if you were showing someone being really anti-Semitic or really racist, or really, like, you're just getting the little things, the ableism. Like, it's so good. That's another thing that's really good about this book. This conversation about ableism and how people treat disabled people is really, really good. So I say all this to say, I'm enjoying it. So well written. So well written. There's a scene with the little boy. He's working at the shop, and this doctor comes in. Once you read this book, you go, such a great scene. Such a great scene. I was so in it. But yeah, now I know I made no sense in that clip. If you get what I'm saying, you get what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to try it one more time. Let me try it one more time. So, the author starts you at a point in the story. And you can kind of tell things have happened, like, before this, but you're not aware that other things have happened. And so you're reading the story, you're like, okay, I'm getting these characters. And then you start getting flashbacks into these characters' lives, or they're talking to one another, and you realize there's a bigger story outside the story you're being told. And you're almost coming in at the late stages of this story. Like, this story is starting at the late stages. So the author starts to give you more details about these people's world, and you're like, whoa, this story is a lot bigger than what I thought. But what the author will do is eventually they will zoom back into the story to a specific thing going on in the story, and that will explain why you're being told the specific story at the specific time, why you're following these people at this time and not any other time, even though you could have followed them. So for example, the boy in this book is deaf. His mother's stove blew up and he became deaf. That could have been a perfectly good story. A story about this boy living in poverty with his mother's stove blows up. The state wants to take him away because they think he's deaf and dumb. That could be a perfectly good story. Why aren't we being told that story? Because this story is the story that the author's choosing to tell. And I don't know why he's choosing to tell it, but that's what's at about the 70% mark. They're going to tell you why this is the story, and everything's going to come together. So that's the thing. You're learning stuff from the past, and you realize, oh, there's so much more to this story. I basically am going to say that like the narrative isn't linear, but it is linear. In theory, you're just getting flashbacks. Like you're just being told things about characters that happened in the past, but it's still linear. The only thing that's not linear about this is that we did start in the past because of the dead body. So we are in the past, we know it, but the past is being told to us in a linear way. It's just like every now and then we're getting details from back in the day. I don't know. Don't get me started. Like once I start getting in like my English major bag, it starts getting weird. I can't even keep up with my own thoughts. But like that's just something I really noticed in this thing where it's just like you're in the middle of the book and you don't realize you're in the middle of the book. That's what it is. It's being in the middle of the book, but not knowing you're in the middle of the book. You're in the middle of someone's life and don't know that you're in the middle of someone's life. Like all of these people are connected without you realizing. So much has happened that has led them to the moment where you meet them. And you have no clue that you think you meeting them when the story started, you thought this was the beginning of the story. Like, oh, let me hear but really, the beginning of the story was forever ago, and you're just being dropped in at this moment in time for a specific reason that you're going to find out later. Boom, there it is. There it is. And that's a common thing that's been happening in literary fiction that I've really been enjoying because you guys know I love characters. And in order to tell a story in that way, use that narrative style, you have to really like build up characters because that entire narrative structure depends on how characters interact with one another and how characters act. So like once you get their backstories, you understand why they act a certain way. Anyways, I'm gonna go and I'll come with my final thoughts. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am going to come and give my final updates on the Heaven and Earth Grocery Store by James McBride. I'm going to give this book 4 out of 5 stars, but don't let the star that's missing take away from the fact that I am so impressed by this novel. I think this novel is so well done. The way this book is able to get its point across about race and this mixing pot, this melting pot that America is in 1925 and how it is now, without coming across as pompous, without coming across as it knows more than us, or it's trying to beat you over the head with like, look, these people are racist, these people are anti-Semitic. It's just the small conversations that these people are having with one another, and it takes it home. It also, once again, dealing with a novel that takes place in the 1920s, you're gonna get these ideas of the American dream, this new America, this upward mobility that a lot of minorities are dealing with and trying to understand how they can get this American dream and move their family into upward mobility. And it does that really well. The last page of this book is so beautiful. The last page of this book is so well done. What I love the most about this book is this idea of community. And when it's all said and done, that's all you really have, and how the only way to really preserve anything that's worth preserving is through community. What happens with the character Dodo? Oh, there's such a good passage about names. So they were asking why Dodo's name was Dodo's name. And everyone was just like, we just call him Dodo. It's not that big a deal. People get names and we use them. And then the character asked, and why not call him something else? And I thought that was so damn brilliant. Oh my gosh, the writing is so good. And that's the really good commentary that this book has, the conversations that this book has. It says things like that, like, there's always a choice not to be a bad person. There's always a choice to treat people better. Like, just because things are the way that they are, there's a choice for them not to be. That's another thing that this book does really well. There's always the option to do nothing and let things stay the same. So even when we're dealing with our Jewish couple that can move down the hill where all the rest of the white people are moving, the wife goes like, no, like, let's not do this. We built community with Black people. We like the Black people we're around. Why do we have to go with the status quo? Or when it comes to the character Nate taking in the deaf 12-year-old, like, he could have left that boy be, but like, why? I don't want to spoil, but when other things happen in the book, there's this option to do nothing. There's this option to do nothing and let things be how they're going to be. But everyone constantly chooses the option to do more. And it makes you look into life, and it's like, could you have done more? Like, we always say where things are just going to be the way they are, but they don't have to be. One choice, one decision, going to talk to someone can really change the trajectory of a lot of people's fates. I enjoyed it. If I keep talking about it, I'm going to trick myself into giving it 5 stars. But I see why this book was loved last year. This isn't for everyone. If you're someone who likes to read them books that y'all be reading, you're not gonna like this book. This is very high literary fiction. Like, it's not like it's a lot of people say this book is boring. Like, you're not gonna get these huge moments. Like, there's no huge moments. There's no huge plot twist. At the root of this book is a murder mystery, because we find a dead body at the beginning. I think I said we find 2 dead bodies. We only find 1 dead body at the beginning. So there's a murder mystery in there, but around that, you're just learning about these people and their lives and how they all connect to one another, which, like I was saying in the past clip that I couldn't get out, that's a really common thing in literary fiction right now. Instead of telling this story where we start at the beginning and it's just all the way through learning things about this character and what they're going through, I would say like a book like Demon Copperhead, where you just start at the beginning of Demon Copperhead's life, where you meet him, and then you just go through his life. That's how like literary fiction usually goes. But there's this thing now where I see where it's like you start at a random time in a bunch of people's lives, then you go back and learn other stuff about them to see how they connect, and then finally there's one major like plot point that you follow at the end. That's what this book does. Anyways, I will talk to you guys later when we start reading Fire Rush, okay? Peace. 2 winners. We have 2. Hello, you guys. It is the morning. I am about to go do Peloton, but last night I started reading Family Meal by Brian Washington, and I need to come and give some thoughts because I think after I work out, I'm going to try to knock out another 100 pages, so I want to come before things start to unfold. So in this book, we are following a character by the name of Cam. Cam lives in Houston. He has become a bartender at this Houston gay club, But before he was in Houston, he lived in Los Angeles and something happened. So one night when we're back in Houston, he's working Houston, he runs into an old friend named TJ. TJ was like a friend, but also kind of like a brother because Cam's parents died via drunk driver when he was 15 and he moved in with TJ's family. And so basically they have had a bond, but something happened between the two of them and they fell out. And Cam moved to Los Angeles. So he's kind of like recounting his life, what happened in Los Angeles, and also what happened before he left Houston and what's going on in Houston now. Cam is being haunted. Cam is being haunted by the ghost of his ex-boyfriend. He had a boyfriend named Kai. Kai died. We don't know why Kai died, but that all happened in Los Angeles. Now he's back in Houston, and Kai keeps showing up into his life as a ghost, and he wants to know why. And basically, we are just following Cam throughout his life in Houston, getting information on what happened when he was in Houston before and what happened in Los Angeles, and all of the stuff that he is doing. This book reminds me of Love in the Big City that I read a couple of months ago because our main character is kind of telling us his story through his sexual partner. So our boy Cam here, Cam is having sex not every night, y'all, almost every single hour. He is on the gay apps and he is finding people to hook up with. He is catching diseases. He does not care. He's not eating. Like, he is completely spiraling and does not care about anything going on around him except for kind of the family that he lives with. He moved in with two gay guys named Jake and Fern. Jake and Fern own the bar that he works with. They moved him in kind of rent-free, and he takes their son to school. So one of them has a son from another marriage, and his name is Diego. So Cam takes Diego to school every single day, and that's kind of like his like bond, the bond that he has. He's gotten back in touch with TJ and TJ's mom, so he has stuff there too. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're doing. This book is really, really intriguing. I enjoy the way this book is told. This book is not told the way you usually expect a story to be told, where you're like moving, like you're fluidly moving through these people's life. This book is told almost as if Cam is recounting his life to us. And so it's like he said, and then I said. That's how it is. Instead of dialogue kind of flowing, it's more choppy, but it's intentional. But what I love the most about the way this is told is that you have to really engage with the words on the page and the way these characters are acting, because so much information is not given to you. Things are kind of foreshadowed in a way just by the way that characters act towards each other. Like, we don't know why Kai died. We don't know why TJ and Cam aren't friends anymore. Something also is going on with TJ that we don't know. But characters drop little hints by the way that they act. You can tell things aren't the way that they appear, and there's more to the story, and it feels that way. It really actually feels like you're being dropped into someone's life and you're trying to get the details, like, ooh, this is juicy, this is salacious, scandalous, and you're trying to pick up all the details, and no one wants to fully give you the story because you new to the story. Everyone is communicating not like they're in a book. Lots of times when in a book, because you're reading a book and book are for people to read, characters, when they're talking to one another, give too much information that you wouldn't give in real life. If you've known someone for years, why would you ever recount to someone who you know for years, like something that happened to y'all 3 years ago? But you do that in books because the reader needs to get, up to speed about what happened, but between y'all, but that's not this book. This author is not getting you up to speed. This character is not trying to get you up to speed. It's just information is given to you when information needs to be given to you, and I'm really, really enjoying it. I knocked out 100 pages last night because I was so in it, and the stuff about him being haunted by his ex, I think is really, really good as well. He's talking about how his ex left him and their last argument. I always love that type of stuff where people like recount the life of someone who was in their life who isn't anymore. I have my suspicions on how Kai died. I have my suspicions of what's going on with TJ. One of my suspicions was already right about Cam and his living situation. So I'm here. I'm here. This seems like it's gonna be another winner for us. But I'm gonna go work out, and I will talk to you guys later when I wrap that one up. Okay? Hello, you guys. I'm here to give my final thoughts on Family Meal by Brian Washington. This book was so well done. So at about the 70% mark of this book, you get kind of a narrative shift, and the narrative takes on a different style. It takes on a different narrator, which is really, really cool. It then happens again, and you get to know more about these characters. Something I really enjoyed about this book is that this book was very raw and real, but was still elegant at the exact same time. Like, they were saying things that were so vulnerable and so even crass at times, but it was still done in such an elegant way. And you guys know I love books that are about community, and this book also did this thing where, like, in death, a character was speaking in death, and that's one of my favorite things in books. And I just really enjoyed this book. I thought it was beautiful. The ending was so good. And yeah, there's pictures in this book as well, like pictures throughout. I just really, really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the conversation this book had around sex, and I love the way the characters interacted with one another. It was just really vulnerable and really real. So I'm going to go ahead and give this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. This is what I was thinking. I know full disclosure is 5 stars, right? I didn't think anything was going to beat that. I like this book more than I liked Heaven and Earth Grocery Store. So it has to be more than 4 because I gave Heaven and Earth Grocery Store 4. So this sits at like a 4.5 because I didn't like it as much as I like Full Disclosure. I don't know. I think in another vlog, this book could have totally gotten 5 stars. It's just because I've read a 5-star book I'm really passionate about in this video. I just know it wasn't that. But like, if this was in any other vlog, I probably would have went ahead and gave it 5 stars. But I enjoyed this. I would recommend this book to everyone. It's a really good read. We're going to finally move on to Fire Rush. I said we were going to be reading Fire Rush before, but now I'm telling the truth. We're going to read Fire Rush now, okay? See you in those clips. Peace. Hello, you guys. I am coming so I can give you guys my initial thoughts on Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks. So let me tell you what this book is about. This book takes place in the 1970s. We have this character who lives with her father. Her father is kind of like a drunk, and he kind of ignores her. And basically they like never really get on the right foot. They are very estranged. Well, they're not estranged because they live together, but you know, they don't talk very much. And her mom was a midwife, but her mom went to Jamaica and never came back. So she just has her dad. Well, she works at a factory. Her life is kind of, you know, sad and all of that. But she meets up with her friends, and they go to like this club, and they like to like dance. They like to rage. She's a rager. And so they rage, and that's kind of her escape. She has some friends. These friends matter because like this book takes a totally different turn. But there's some friends that she enjoys going with. Her friends are kind, you know, she has an interesting relationship with her friends. But one day at these ragers, she meets this guy named Moose. Moose kind of shows her that her life doesn't have to be dull and mundane like it is now. But one day, Moose gets killed by the police. And that kind of kicks off our story. This story takes place during the racial tension between the black people in Brixton and the police, which they call Babylon. And basically the police are killing black people. They are arresting black people for doing nothing. And it's just a lot of racial tension. Our character is kind of stuck in the middle of that. Every time she tries to move, do something different, the police kind of get in her way, and she's kind of being like radicalized and figuring out like they don't gotta live like this, like they gotta be something else out there. So that's what's going on in this book. It's fine. I'm not loving it, especially because I really, really loved the last 3 books, but I wasn't loving Heaven and Earth Grocery Store at first either. So like this I'm just not loving it. I find it confusing at times. I find our narrative voice to be a little dull. That's pretty much what I'm saying. Like, it's kind of confused because she's like dull. Like, there's nothing exciting about her as a character. The stuff she's going through is exciting, but I'm not sure as a character she's all that exciting. Like, her opinions on the things around her are just not that interesting. Her take on the world just doesn't feel all that interesting. So, like, it's like I'm getting through it, and it's not hard to get through because the writing is good and the subject matter is good, and there's some interesting things going on in the book. It's not a boring book. I just think with a stronger narrative voice, I would be in it, because you guys know I love characters, but this character is not that interesting. And also, like, big revelations in this book. It takes the route of Such a Fun Age. You remember there's a book called Such a Fun Age I read last year where, like, things will get revealed to the reader, but the characters act like it's not that big of a deal. Like, things are revealed to you in such a, like, and here you go manner, but, like, huge things are happening. So, like, that's a thing. But yeah, I just wanted to come and give initial thoughts. My camera is my battery's about to die. No, I'm running out of memory card space is what it's telling me. So I'll talk to you guys a little later. Peace. Hello, you guys. I need to come and give my final thoughts on Fire Rush by Jacqueline Crooks. I feel like I have to explain myself. And this feeling doesn't feel good, because I'm not a person who ever feels like I need to explain why I just don't like something. I did not enjoy my time reading this book. I didn't hate my time either. I feel literally nothingness towards this book. So I'm going to give it a 2.5. And I think this type of literary fiction is really not my thing. What is this type of literary fiction? This type of literary fiction where there's nothing actually going on. The plot is not necessarily moving in any fluid way. The characters are going through stuff, and you're kind of just going through moments in time, in a specific time, and you spend most of the book in the character's head, the character talking about what other people are doing, their feelings on what other people are doing. The dialogue is very sparse. The characters around them are not very fleshed out intentionally, but the characters around them aren't very fleshed out because the entire book is really just about our main character and her or them getting from point A to point B. That is not my thing. I don't know. I do not like feeling trapped in characters' heads. I like big, robust worlds. I like characters interacting with one another. I like getting into the psyche of certain characters. That's why I really enjoyed Family Meal. I like understanding why characters are doing certain things, what's their motives. And in this book, we don't really know anything about this character. We're kind of dropped into their life, and there's no catch up. So this is what's been up to. You just drop into their life and you get little tidbits, and just so you can get to one final destination. And that is not my thing. And I know it's not my thing because there's a few books that do this as well. Luster. Hated Luster. Luster does this exact same thing. Characters around them, not very fleshed out. We're just in this character's head. They're making decisions. You don't really know why they're making these decisions. You just got to go with it. Luster. Red Island House. Did not like this book. Also reminds me of Fire Rush, where, like, the world is kind of hazy. You don't really understand what's actually going on. People are interacting with our main character, but we're not really sure what we're supposed to get from these interactions. We don't know why our character is acting the way they are with these characters. These two, I think more than anything, these two are comp titles. Like, the overarching political theme, but also this, like, personal story. These are comp titles. Once again, doing the exact same thing. Not my thing. Another one I did not enjoy greatly, Ma Maid. These would be comp titles in the sense that, like, you are just really in the character's head. You're just really in the character's head, and things are happening around them, but it seems like our main character is not doing anything about the things around them. Not my thing, not my thing. And then another thing I would say is a comp title is Rootless. Rootless also feels like a comp title to this. Notice I did not like any of these books as well, where it's just like, I'm not in it. I don't feel like I have any deep feelings for these characters, and maybe that's intentional. Maybe I'm just supposed to focus on the story, but when things happen to the characters, you don't really care. You don't really care because you're kind of left at a distance to these characters. So those would be comp titles, and these are all books I did not enjoy that greatly, and I would put Fire Rush right along with those. Now, I do think in a way this can work for me because I do not want to make such a broad statement that I can't like a book that kind of takes this angle. The Bread the Devil Need, I enjoyed this book because the narrative voice was so good. Because the thing about these 4 books is that I think the narrative voices are weak. If you're going to give me a story where we are just in the character's head, the world is moving around them, it seems like the character can't catch up, I need a good narrative voice. These books do not have it. Fire Rush to me does not have it. But The Bread the Devil Needs, great narrative voice, great world around the story. So even though you don't get a lot of details about this character, how this character came to be, how they got in their situation, really, the world is so big, the voice is so big that you're just like, I'm in it. How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherry Jones, another book, 100% does the exact same thing, but great narrative voice, captivating characters, amazing world. You know, I feel like I'm in it the entire time. So I had to explain myself. I rarely do comp titles, but I had to explain myself because I did not enjoy this. And this is the only book in this video that I did not enjoy. I'm going to go ahead and give it 2.5. But I do think one day I could revisit it. I think this is just not, these books are not the era of reading I am in. All of these books get acclaimed by someone. These books have an audience. There are people who really like these like head isolation books, like where you're just in these characters' head and the world is moving. To me, they feel like fever dreams. They feel like fever dreams, and I do not enjoy them. But if you enjoyed any of these books, I would recommend the rest of these books because they all feel exactly the same, and I dislike them for the exact same reasons. I always say I love amazing characters and captivating plots. Some people, and you could say that's easy. A lot of people like that. No, some people just care about the plot. They just want the plot to move. A lot of these like romantasy type of, it's just plot and fluff. Like there's nothing really to take home with those books, but people enjoy that, and I'm not knocking what people enjoy, right? Sometimes you just read romance books because you just like the tropes. You just like these characters, but you don't care nothing actually about the plot. I love captivating characters in a captivating plot. That is my thing. And then if you're going to give me a flimsy plot, I don't mind it. Give me amazing characters. Give me amazing characters. But you can't give me a captivating plot and shitty characters. And so I'm all about narrative voice. I'm all about the voice of our main characters, the voice of the characters around them. That is my thing. So when you get these characters who are just kind of like flailing through life, it never works for me. I like robust. I'm a robust reader. I just like everything to be big. I like everything to, no, that's not true. I'm lying. I like everything to be captivating. I like everything to just feel intentional. I don't want to say that either because I don't think these books are unintentional. They're just kind of, going through life, and that's not my thing. If you're going to give me, think the Rachel incident, she's kind of just going through life. There's no really clear plot, but the characters are so good and they're in such interesting predicaments, and that's what I love. So yeah, I need to end the video. Let me go get the rest of the books and then I'll end the video. Okay, so Fire Rush wasn't a winner, but we can get over that because full disclosure was favorite book of the video, 5 out of 5 stars. It will show up in my favorite books of the year, I believe so. Then The Heaven and Earth Grocery Store, the book I thought I would like the least, I really enjoyed. 4 out of 5 stars, a book that I will definitely revisit in the future. I'm really happy that I read it, and if you're someone who likes heavy literary fiction in the sense that like it's literary fiction like all the way, that is this book, and I think you could enjoy it. Last book, Family Mail. This is more of, there's no real clear plot in this book, but the character is so captivating. The choices they make, it seems like they are fully in the front seat, the driving seat of their life. Even if they're making the bad decisions, they're still driving the car. I love it. I love it. They're not just letting life move around them. They're doing moving as well. The wrong moving, but I enjoyed Family Meal a lot. 4.5 out of 5 stars. And then Fire Rush. I think I'm going to give it 3. I think I'm going to give it 3 because there were some things I did enjoy. But baby, it was slow. It was boring. The main character was boring. Not for me. Anyways, that's the end of this one. That's the end of Black History Month. I will catch you guys next month. Peace.